What is going on? Welcome back to Financial Journey. So today I'm going to go over my third intro to options tutorial. And so my first one, I talked on fundamentals, what a strike price is, expiry date, calls and puts, just the basic bones. Second video was buying and selling call options, what they entailed, everything that you needed to know. In this video, I'm going to be talking on buying and selling puts, which is very similar to calls, but a little bit more of a spin to it. So once again, I'm going to go over all that. Make sure as first hit that thumbs up and subscribe. Always greatly appreciate that. And with that said, let's get right to it. A couple of things I just wanted to bring up. I have Tesla options chain, so I'm going to be using them as an example. For all the examples going forward, I'm going to be using December the 29th, 2023 as an expiry date. Keep in mind, you can also alter it to whatever you see fit, depending on the circumstance and the example I give. It might be advantageous to choose a longer term expiry date, but still, again, that's something you do and you do your own research. A couple things as well. At the time of doing this video, Tesla stock price is $252.54. So that might come into play in some actual scenarios. So with all that said, let's get right to part number one. And that right here is buying a long put. Actually, I'll just get rid of myself so you can kind of see it all. So ultimately, a long put, aka buying a put, is where you just buy a put. Pretty simple, right? Description is a trader who wants to speculate on a large, fast, and volatile price decrease can buy a put. The trader pays a debit, which is called a premium, to buy the put and has the right, but not the obligation, to sell 100 shares at the strike price. It goes over an example, how the break-even price is and whatever else. You can always pause the video, take a read at that. It goes over a pretty good example, but then again, I am going to go over my own example just so you can kind of see it all play out as one. So once again, with everything that you do know, I have only the puts kind of section up right here. So let's say right now I do feel that Tesla is going to go down this upcoming week. Keep in mind the stock price is $254 and change, and let's say I feel it is going to go to 240 by December the 29th, my expiry date. Also on a side note, I neglected to bring up something in my call option video. And whether you are buying or selling, if it's a call or a put, you can always close out your position early. You do not have to wait up until your expiry date. That is a very important point that I did neglect to bring up. So just be aware of that. But still, moving on. Let's say I do feel Tesla's going to go down to $240. So you can kind of see the last price that this did sell for was 105. Keep in mind, take that one option does equate to 100 shares. So 105 times by 100. So I would be paying a premium of $100, or I guess $105 to be fair. So I pay that premium. And because I am actually feeling that it is going to go down below $240. My break-even price is that strike price, so 240 subtract $1.05, so $238.95. So I need it to go below $238.95 for me to make any money. So let's say it does go down to 230. So exactly as what I was anticipating. It went down further, in fact, than what I thought. So what ends up happening is I get to sell 100 shares to some individual at $240. And then what I can do is just go in the open market and buy it at 230 or whatever the share price is at the time. Because technically part of my obligation of buying a put, I have to sell this individual 100 shares. So I technically owe them 100 shares, whether I physically have the shares already or I just go in the open market and do it that way. That is, in essence, buying a put. Let's do a opposite viewpoint. Let's say Tesla's stock price does just go up from here, and I am completely wrong about that. So the worst case scenario that could play out is I just lose my premium. That's it. So this $105 that I did pay, that is gone. So once again, it didn't really go to plan, but it's a lot better than kind of losing out on the 100 physical shares of Tesla itself and betting wrong in that fashion. That is buying and selling a put. What's entailed? You do typically have to have sufficient amount of margin prior to you buying a put. So kind of just be aware of that, right? Because you are obligated to sell 100 shares of Tesla at $240. So you need to have sufficient amount of margin unless you already do have those physical shares. So that's more of a caveat as well. So let's move on to selling a put and what is entailed for that. So going over here, so it says cash secured put. So you sell short a put at a strike price where you want to buy long 100 shares. And as I mentioned in my call video, this is exactly what I like to do. Almost every single week, actually no, to be fully fair, every single week I do sell puts and I sell covered calls. Only on stocks I do like. But once again, that's more of a side note. So the description, it says a trader who wants to buy 100 shares of a stock if and only if the stock price decreases to a certain price can short a put at that price. The trader receives a credit, which is called a premium, to sell the put and has an obligation to buy 100 shares at the strike price. Once again, you can just pause the video, read through the example, goes over the break even and everything else that you need to know. But I'm going to go over my actual example right here. So very similar to what I mentioned. Let's say I feel Tesla is going to go down to $240, but I really do like the underlying stock. You can substitute Tesla for whatever floats your boat, whether it be Lucid, SoFi, or who knows, right? Anything that has options. But you really like the underlying stock. But based on some of the data points or whatever's in your head, you think that stock is going to go down. And keep in mind, at the time of writing this contract or this option, the stock price is $252 and I think it was 54 cents or whatever else. So let's say you feel similar to the last example, it's going to go down to $240. Okay, so you sell a put because at $252, which is the current stock price, if someone told you that you can buy it at $240, I'm sure there'd be a lot of people raising their hand saying, hey, I'll buy it at $240. What you can do is you can actually sell a put on a stock that you like and that you wouldn't mind owning at that price. So I typically do this every single week. Sometimes I extend the term a little bit longer on stocks that I like. Because let's say the stock price does go down to 230. Well, the downside of that is you don't get to buy it at 230. Based on you selling a put, you have to buy it at the strike price, so $240. Someone did pay you a premium. So by selling, whether it be calls or puts, you are going to be the recipient of that premium. So that $105, so $1.05 times by 100, so that $105 I receive and I get to keep regardless of whatever happens. So let's say it does go down to 230, then I am obligated to buy 100 shares at $240. So some people might be like, well, that's kind of flawed. But then again, if you really like the underlying stock and you are going to buy it at $240 regardless, no matter what, like a 10% dip or a 5% dip, you are going to buy it. So why not actually do this scenario and that you actually get to have a premium? You get to keep $1 or $105 out of that. So again, some people might like it, some people might not. You guys always do you. I'm not a financial advisor, clearly. But like I mentioned in this example, if it does go down to 230, I have to buy it at 240. So let's do a flip, right? So let's say Tesla just skyrockets. I am completely wrong. It doesn't go down and goes to $300, something crazy. Well, guess what? By me selling a put, I still receive that $105 premium, so that $1.05. But if it goes to $300, I don't have to buy any shares. Like it expires worthless. So this is where every single week I do this because one of two scenarios plays out. I get to buy a stock that I like at a price I like, as well as collecting a premium. Or option number two, or part B to that, is I just get to collect the premium and I don't buy any shares. So you can collect premiums every single week if you are very good at reading charts or whatever else. So in essence, selling puts is very similar to calls, or I guess buying and selling puts is very similar to calls, no matter what. Just it's a lot more psychological because you are anticipating and trying to say that a stock is going to go down. Majority of investors out there, especially retail investors, like to be a lot more optimistic than bearish, because by actually buying a put, you are anticipating for a stock price to go down, which psychologically is sometimes very difficult for a lot of investors. So like I mentioned at the very beginning, it is very similar to calls, but with a twist, and that twist is more psychological. So in my opinion, you can really make a lot of good money, whether it be weekly, monthly, or whatever term you do choose. You can buy puts if you anticipate the stock price to go down, or you can sell covered calls if you feel that a stock that you do like is going to go down. And if you're wrong, you collect premium. If you're right, you get to buy a stock at a price you like. Once again, so I can even extend it further so you don't see this, but let's say September 2025. So that's going to be so September 19th, 2025. This is the option chain for that. And I'll amend it so you can kind of see it a little bit more. So I'll just kind of extend that. So once again, very similar nature. Let's say I feel I would be more than happy to buy Tesla at $240. And I'm going to hold Tesla regardless for the next 3 or 4 years, 5 years, whatever floats your boat, right? So why not sell a long-term put? Because technically, look at this. Based on this, you would be collecting a premium of around $4,885 just by selling a put. So like I mentioned, let's say by September 19th, 2025, Elon takes Tesla to the moon. So if that does happen, you get to have almost about just shy of $5,000 cash by just selling that put. And worst case scenario, it does go down. Well, guess what? You get to buy it at the stock price you were willing to buy regardless, and long term. So once again, kind of you guys, there's different strategies that you can do. Like I mentioned, there's a lot more complex ones that involve buying and selling puts at the same time. But if you are interested, I can do a little bit more complex strategies, what that entails and everything else. So let me know your thoughts. Do you typically sell puts? Do you buy puts? What's your viewpoint on all that? Like I said, if anyone takes anything from these 3 videos so far, highly recommend you guys always selling either calls or puts. That's what I do. You collect a lot of good premiums. You can do that every single week, every month, and especially on a lot of good stocks that you do really like long term. It's kind of a win-win. But then again, I'm not a financial advisor. So let me know your thoughts. Happy holidays, everyone. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. And with that said, I appreciate all of you watching.